to the Prepare to Repair Show on 1340 WJOL. Every Monday, owner of R.J. Graham Plumbing, Steve Suarez, will bring his decades of plumbing experience to help homeowners like you navigate homeownership. Everything from repair and renovations to home buying. With weekly guests, Steve will take the fear out of home improvement. And now, let's prepare to repair with Steve Suarez.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Prepare to Repair Show. I am your host, Plumber Steve, with R.J. Graham Plumbing, where every week I try to do my best to bring you the best, most informative hour of radio with information and people in the trades, some little tidbits, tips, and so forth.
Steve Suarez. I want to get one of those.
Okay. After all that, that's all you got out of it, Megan.
Dude.
And
I want a voiceover and a really cool introduction.
You're hearing the my cohort, my co-host here, Miss Megan Ozer.
Steve Suarez.
Hello, Megan Ozer.
That's perfect.
There you go.
Right.
See,
you could add a little more flair to that.
So
better.
And what is the show brought to you by?
Why do you always gotta? Why is that like my only?
Because you know this is the test every week, and you fail.
I never fail.
The Prepare to Repair Show is brought to you by
Ferguson
Kitchen
and Bath
and Lighting. And where are they located?
Tinley Park.
You know what? Mac was here. He basically prompted you and told you, hey, you should be doing it for the love of Mac, and you do nothing.
Well, then maybe Mac should be here. Okay.
We get like 100 more listeners when he's here. He said so.
More than our 6.
Exactly. He said so. That's Mac. He said it. He goes, when I'm here, the listeners.
He said there's an uptick.
There's an uptick. So yeah.
Okay.
So if you want to see Mac, he's over at Ferguson Supply over at in Tinley Park.
In Tinley.
You got to go see him. And it's also brought to you by R.J. Graham Plumbing, which I am.
Them too.
Yeah, it's just us. We do our.
Heard they're okay.
R.J. Graham Plumbing. Yeah, we tried.
We try.
We tried.
It's our motto.
Yeah, thank you, Megan. Thanks for downplaying us. On today's show, we have joining us is Mr. Kevin Mathers with KGM Home Inspections. This is Kevin's second time in joining us on the show, and we appreciate having him.
It's his third. That was rude.
Third? Yeah. This is the third time? Yeah. Oh, wow. I am, you know what?
That's how much you like me, I guess.
Yeah, right?
You know what?
Wow.
You're a regular.
Yeah.
So it's like, I lose track of how many times you've been here. But you know what? It's awesome. And actually, he's giving me a lot of crap about that, but when I was at the Bears game, guess who was waving those towels during the Bears game when it was raining on the opening game?
Yes, you did. I saw that right away. Definitely appreciate it. I got exposure to 40, 50,000 fans.
Explain this. You waved a towel? What?
Well, when he was on here on his last visit on the show, he gave some towels that had his logo on it.
Got it.
His company name logo, and they're beautiful towels. And we went to the opening game of the Bears, and it was the monsoon. It's when it was raining, water was running down the stairs, the whole 9 yards. It was
sounds like fun.
Oh, it was. Yeah, it was.
Was it cold?
No, actually, it wasn't. It was an opening game, home opener, and so we brought those, and it was helping keep us as dry as we could. And I was waving them around. I had it up in, we were taking pictures and stuff like that. So it was kind of cool. He got a lot of love, and I was thanking him for it.
I did. Greatly appreciate that.
Look at you.
So I did repay that. So the mistake.
You did. Yes, you did.
So I earned one. I got a mulligan here, right?
There you go.
Cool. That works for me. So, and also Kevin is one of the best and most well-respected home inspectors in the area, and has recently inspected a somewhat famous house that we're going to discuss today. Megan, you want to give the audience a little tidbit about what that is?
A tidbit?
Yes.
It's a haunted house. The haunted house in Frankfurt. Was it 207 Center Street?
Center Street.
Yeah. It's been how old is it?
1909. Yeah, 1909 is when the house was built. Story has it was actually a bordello for numerous years.
Is that a brothel?
Yeah.
Okay. I've never heard of the word bordello. Sounds like a cheese.
Yeah.
Carry on. I just read tons of interesting facts about it. The two. Would you get a hold of yourself? Breathe.
Can I have a Bordello burger with fries?
Bordello cheese, right? Doesn't it sound like it would, it would be a cheese?
Keep going, Kevin.
Anyway, I saw some really
this
cool...
rabbit hole's deep. Keep going.
So I heard that two young girls died in it, but that, as I read more, one may have been older. She was sick prior to getting there and then died on the third floor.
Yes.
And then the other one was mistaken for a prostitute.
She was a runaway, and she was hired on as a maid there.
And she got off the train right there in Frankfurt, and she was raped, and they slit her throat, but in the same room on that third floor. And then the last guy, I'm not sure when he actually moved out. What was his name? Kevin Ziegler?
Ziegler, yeah.
Wow, you did some research on this.
Right?
That's
he
cool.
was on one of the stories, he was on a Skype call with his friend, and he walked out of the room for the second, and the friend was, still, you could see the video, saw a girl just walk right past it. And now this friend of his, he said from then on, he'd refused to ever go in that house. And then another woman had said that, had run over and said, hey, there's a little girl, she's dangling her feet out that window upstairs. I'm like, oh, God, that's...
Yeah, there was also stories about how the girl in that home was standing in the window facing the resident's house, a window similar level, and she was trying to make friends with the little girl next door.
Oh, that's so crazy.
Allegedly, yeah.
So you wonder if it's like is it a friendly kind of experience, or? I mean, she's trying to make friends with her.
Yeah,
I'd be her friend. Yeah, it's when things start like.
Well, we're going to go into a little bit more detail with this at the towards the end of the show. But before we get to that, let's listen or hear a little bit more about Kevin. Tell us about you and your refresh our listeners' memories about you and what your credentials are and what exactly you do.
Sure. So, started my home inspection business actually going on like 13 years ago, and licensed in Illinois and in Indiana. Also will service Southwest Michigan as well. I do some work up there on some investment properties, Airbnbs and stuff like that. And we do full home inspections, Chicago metropolitan area, west suburbs, far south as well, including downtown Chicago. As far as covering those and the high rises and stuff, I've done a lot of older homes, older buildings, especially in the south side of Chicago and a lot of the older communities as well. Currently hold certifications through ASHI and InterNACHI, which are two of the largest home inspection type of associations that's out there as well. Also certified through NADRA. This is interesting because NADRA is the North American Deck and Railing Association. They pretty much have put together what's considered the deck and porch prescription that a lot of municipalities actually adopt as code. And after going through and getting educated on that, you never look at a porch or deck the same way. Most of them are just horrendous.
You guys, I'll be honest, anytime I hear inspector, I'm terrified. Whether I had to use one when we were selling or whether you're buying, what's a way that you guys need to make yourself sound less scary? Because if I'm trying to sell, I'm worried about you going in and be like, you can't, you got this and this and this and this. And then if you're buying, you're worried that your sale's going to fall through because something's going to be wrong. I'm always thinking something's going to be wrong.
Well, I mean, the thing is, on both sides of those coin, real quickly, I'll say, from a buyer's standpoint, we're usually their first line of defense. They've gone in, they've done a quick walkthrough, and usually, they're not in the house more than 5 or 10 minutes. And, with the way houses move on today's market, it's do you want to put in an offer or not? And then that's where we come in and kind of start to peel back the layers, basically. With it, we're not there to tell them whether they should or shouldn't buy it. That's not our job, and this actually would be it's not ethical or legal in the state of Illinois. And we're there to provide them with as much information as we can. It's a visual inspection.
Yeah.
We don't open up walls. We put things through normal paces, and we try and give them the best snapshot that day of what we see. so they can make a more informed decision.
Yeah, it makes sense. You're just protecting them.
Yeah, more and more sellers are starting to come and get a pre-listing inspection, or somebody that's been in their home for the last 20, 30 years just kind of wants a new to-do list. And sellers, a lot of agents kind of they frown away from that, and I understand their reasoning for it, because now anything I find actually has to be disclosed.
Mm-hmm.
But your sellers and a lot of your veteran agents, they see that as being proactive. It's like, okay, let's see what's here, because it's probably going to get found anyway. Let's either fix it, disclose it, credit it, come up with some course of action before it hits the market, so we don't get hit with that.
Yeah, definitely.
Closing.
I know that when we were selling our house, we had our realtor come in and say, she was giving us tips on what we should do, like upgrade that and do that and do that. But yeah, I'd much rather have an inspector come in and tell me the things that I need to take care of, because it's going to just,
Yeah. So it's smart. And again, just people that's been living in the home for a long time, they just want to know what they got, because, what we find is most homeowners and even sellers, they really don't know what's in the nuts and bolts of their home, till we get in there. I mean, I've gone into some homes and, asked where the attic hatch is, and I've been told I haven't been up there in 30 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's kind of scary for me.
Yeah.
But, we run into that. I mean, how often do people go into their attics or their crawl spaces?
Oh,
if you think
true.
about it.
We have a home we have a lake house in Indiana. I'd love for you to walk through that.
Sure. Absolutely.
So it's super old. We got it, and when we purchased it, it was abandoned for like 30 years. But it's funny because, we built our house in Mokina, and we've had more problems with that house than we've ever had at this, our Indian home.
New construction definitely has its challenges. It really does. The other thing, the other service that I provide now, I do provide floor plans for anyone who wants one. It's done with AI technology. It's a scanning of the home that I do, not only for my buyers but for listing agents as well. If they want to provide a floor plan for their listing or their sellers, that's something I can do now as well.
On an existing home?
Yep.
Oh,
yeah, it could be vacant, occupied, doesn't really matter. And the technology that's used with it, like if I had a dog walk in front of me and I actually had that happen, the technology removes the dog and it gives a full floor plan with dimensions and everything else. It's really kind of cool.
And does that give you notice of what do you call it? The basic structure. What do you call that?
Pretty much a layout it would give you.
Yeah, it's a layout with room dimensions. Yeah. And
I don't think it's going to give you any structure or any kind of aesthetics. I mean, it's going to give you basic layout, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it'll show doors, windows, your fixed, like your stove, furnace, toilets, bathtubs.
I'm trying to think of what I'm thinking of. Like if you wanted to remove a wall, could you?
Oh, okay. I think.
Well, it's not going to identify if you have a load-bearing wall or something like that.
That's what I was looking. Those are the words. See, this is why I'm
here. And I
here.
get asked that question a lot.
Can
I take this wall out? And you can do just about anything you want to do to a house as long as it's done correctly and you have the right people supervising that process.
Keyword.
That
checks
out.
Key phrase, I should say, right people.
Yeah.
Now I wanted to ask you about that organization, the National Deck and Railing. Is that what it's called? When did they come about?
Oh man, they're not that old. They've been around for, a little while, but they're not as old as some of the organizations. And, one of the key phrases, and a lot of times I'll put it in my report, and, this can be Googled. It's called DCA6. And again, that's really kind of the prescription that they give for decks and porches, everything from the type of wood to the type of hardware. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing what we see is used to put decks together. Mm-hmm. Now if you got the ones that's sitting on the ground, it's still an issue, but you see the same type of construction and applications on ones that are 10 feet off the ground, and that's a problem.
Well, you see why I'm asking, because remember about 25 years ago in Chicago, there was that rash of deck collapses.
Yep.
Where it was pretty serious. I think they had at least 3 of them that were serious.
Right.
That people have, there were many injuries and some fatalities on those.
Yeah, there were.
So
ducks are so important. There's a lot. It's like a lot of things in a house. Things kind of tend to go to the side view, on things with that. But yeah, with decks and porches, just the railings, the structure. I mean, I've had brand new porches and decks installed on like a 3-unit or 3-flat unit in Chicago, and I pretty much called it out. It's like, this has some issues. It needs to be addressed. Not a tear down, but there's some things that definitely need to be corrected on it to make it safe. Average lifespan of a deck, based on industry standards, is about 20 years, give or take.
If it's maintained.
If it's maintained.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a big if.
Yeah, looks a lot of people they don't, and those credentials, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to highlight was those are very important because that's the difference between when you're choosing people, whether it be a home inspector or any other kind of person in the trades, you need those credentials because those pretty much tell you that you're getting a person who's knowledgeable, who's qualified, who is going to be able to point you in the right direction. You're paying for that expertise. Take advantage of it. And that is key. You don't want to cut corners when you're getting stuff done in your house. You know?
Yeah, it's key with every trade, even with yours. I mean, I go in and I see, and I know we're going to touch on the flipper, but the flipper plumbing and electrical is just, it's not good.
So, because what we're going to do right now is we are going to take a quick break. You're listening to the Prepare to Repair show. I am your host, Plumber Steve, with the magnificent Megan Ozer, and Kevin Mathers with KGM Home Inspections. We're going to take a quick break right here on WJOL 1340, and then we're going to be back with the homeowner hack tip of the week.
It's time for Homeowner Hacks. You've got questions, we've got answers. It's real-life homeowner situations with solutions. From Steve Suarez at RJ Graham Plumbing.
Good afternoon, everybody. Today's homeowner tip is regarding buying that new house. Buying that new home is one of the biggest purchases and one of the biggest decisions you will make, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. Whether it's your first home or you purchase many homes, it's always important to do your due diligence prior to purchase so that your dream of home ownership doesn't turn into a nightmare. It is imperative to have the home inspected by a qualified, reputable home inspector. If the home you have purchased, if the home has been purchased, renovated, or put up for sale in a relatively short period of time with a significant price increase, I strongly recommend you reach out to the village or town to check to see if any permits were pulled. What type of work was done as well to confirm any inspections, if at all, were done. If there were no permits pulled, I would seriously reconsider purchasing of that property. The same process goes for the house if that may have had a large remodel done. This is because once you purchase this home, you own it and are stuck with any of the work that was done. Like with any other purchase you make, a little diligence and research done in the beginning can save you major headaches later on.
Welcome back. Your dreams were your ticket out.
Welcome back to the Prepare to Repair show. I am your host, Plumber Steve Suarez with RJ Graham Plumbing. Back with me is Megan. And then also we have Kevin Mathers with KGM Home Inspections. And I want to thank you, Megan, when
You're welcome, Steve.
I make a mistake and you chuckle.
Call it out.
No, you don't call it out. You chuckle.
Like it is.
You don't laugh at people when they make mistakes.
Just, bringing a little light to the situation,
You're laughing at me.
I feel like it just breaks up the uncomfortableness.
My feelings.
Nah.
I wasn't uncomfortable. I was doing just fine.
I saw a little bit of a little clench.
Anyway.
Like you were a little nervous.
So, do you have any questions about my homeowner hack?
Not really.
Do you have any? No, Kevin, you wanted to
just
add
a
something.
couple quick notations, on the homeowner hack, and especially first-time home buyers and, getting into remodel or flip properties. Probably one of the biggest things we always say, too, is, try and be at the inspection for our clients. We always like our inspections at the clients, or like our clients at the inspections. That way then they can see what we see. Often it's easier for us to explain versus them trying to read the
How many are not?
In a report.
Is it common for homeowners not to be there?
Wait,
Yes.
I did not think you were supposed to be there.
No. Well, every inspector has different protocols.
Mm-hmm.
They're all a little bit different. I like when my clients are there.
I
like that. I would like to be there.
I like to know my clients. In fact, if the appointment should be set up maybe by the agent, I reach out to my client to introduce myself. I want to explain to them, here's what I do and here's what I don't do. There's such a misconception out there that we can see through walls and we've got crystal balls. If I had that, I'd be in Vegas. I wouldn't be doing this for me. But they need to understand it's the biggest purchase of their life in some cases. And first purchase as well. And sometimes you got to kind of talk them in off the ledge a little bit. So yeah, I like when my clients are there. I want them to ask questions. I work for them.
Right.
They're never interrupting me. I mean, I've got my flow and my process, but I want them to ask as many questions as they can think of. Take notes, whatever they want to do.
Right.
It doesn't matter to me. Again, it's not an interruption to me. And I also tell them to read the whole report. Typical inspection report, it's going to be 30 to 50 pages with sometimes anywhere from 100 to 200 pictures.
You lost me.
You going to wait for the movie?
Yeah. There's no reading.
Let me tell you, the movie isn't any better.
Yeah. So, and often in the rush of things in the attorney review period, often what is requested so they can move forward is what's called a summary page. And this is kind of the good, the bad, the ugly, or I call it my front page news as far as the report goes. And a lot of times, that's the agent will look for that and the attorney will look for that. And then they fail to kind of go through the other 30, 40, 50 pages.
Right.
And, we like them to read that because they may see something in the body of the report that's very important to them. In my opinion, it may not be that crucial or a deal killer, but they may have something in there, and it helps them to understand about their house. When I tell my clients that 90 to 95% of my inspection report is your to-do list. You're buying a home.
Right.
You're going to have stuff. The other 5 or 10% or whatever is what you may or may not want to negotiate or talk to the seller about. And I always redirect them back to their agent and their attorney to help them navigate through that process. Again, I'm not there to tell them what they should or shouldn't be doing with that part of it. That's there's other professionals for that. But yeah, definitely be at the inspection. That's huge.
Well, there's a couple things too.
Noted.
One, you don't have a whole lot of time. After that inspection, you really don't have a whole lot of time to review it and to make whatever adjustments needed. I mean, I think that, what is that, attorney review period?
So your attorney review period, and that brings up another good point, is usually 5 days, 5 business days.
Okay.
All right, is usually what it is. Sometimes it's 10. It just depends on the property and the transaction, but as a rule, in Illinois, it's 5 business days. And often I will get a call on the 4th day. Can you do an inspection tomorrow? Well, I'll tell you, myself, your seasoned inspectors, I was booked out last week.
Right.
As well. So you're not, and especially when you get into spring and summer, unless that inspector just happened to have a cancellation, you're not likely to find him in 24 hours, as well. Soon as you get that offer accepted, that's kind of when the clock starts ticking. Again, in most transactions, start either looking for referrals or doing your search or whatever it is, however you're going to find your home inspector. That's when you need to start that search right away, as well, so you can get that booked in time. There is sometimes opportunities to ask for an extension. And again, this falls back on the attorney, real estate agent. That's their domain. But like if today's your 5th day and I do your inspection today, how much time are you going to have really to go through the report and maybe go back with anything you may want to do?
You don't.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. You're really putting yourself up against the wall.
Yeah.
Now, also too is like even with the homeowner hack I went through, and if I made a mistake on it, I apologize to everybody. But thanks, Meg. But a lot of what even I said, like if you walk into a house that you're looking at, and you have certain things that you can do beforehand.
Absolutely.
That you can research. So you have a lot of information going in. So that's why I said, so if you see a house that is newly renovated and you do a search online and you find out, say, this thing last year was up for sale and it went for, say, $150. Mm-hmm. And now, basically 12 months, 1 calendar year later, now it's up for sale for $350. Okay, Dave, this is a flip. Right. So now you can, all right, I'm going to check on what was done here. And usually when you contact the village, you can find out, okay, where permits were pulled, what was done, this, that, and the other. And if it all matches up with the work that you see, generally, okay, then you continue moving on. I mean, the thing is, you don't have to, and I think what I'm kind of saying by the hack is you don't have to be a contractor. You don't have to be a seasoned home inspector to have some of the power to be able to. You have common sense.
Yeah, I would never think to call the village. That's a great idea.
You know, and there's all these little things that you as a homeowner can do that you can help yourself out, and you've got this power in your pocket to do that. And then you take all the information you're getting from what you've researched. The internet's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And getting the expertise from home inspectors such as yourself, then you can kind of break that down. Or they can, while they're there with you doing the inspection,
right?
Hey, I saw this online and I'm concerned and that they may not have done certain things. What's your experience? Now, you can't say, oh, this is wrong, that's wrong, or whatever the case may be. You can say, well, especially if it's on some of the mechanicals or something that may be with beyond the scope of what an inspector can say, but you can say, it doesn't look right to me, or it looks I would have further attention. And that's what your report says. It says this needs attention.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to say, hey, you know, it's not going to tell you exactly what's wrong. It's going to say, this is what this lifespan should be. This is what it should do. This is what it should look like. This needs attention.
Right.
This needs attention. We're pointing out all the stuff that needs attention.
Well, a perfect example of that is I always try and have my clients be proactive, and the two categories are, and in fact, you've met me at some inspections where recommend a sewer scope.
Yes.
And I don't care how old the house is.
Yes.
I haven't personally, but I know some other inspectors where they've had a sewer scope done on brand new construction and realized that the line running out to the main was crushed.
Yeah.
From trucks running over it.
Is that like a home colonoscopy?
Pretty
Basically?
much.
Yeah.
I can't
look at
it. Or if I walk up, get them into a home that's 40, 50, 60 years old, there's a good chance that the plumbing, running from the house to the street, basically, is going to be that old. And then I see a 100-year-old oak tree in the front yard. Well, that's kind of two big red flags right there.
Right.
Might come out perfectly clean, but a sewer backup is big time, and that's not something that I have the capability to see or know. And typically me flushing toilets and running sinks in the dishwasher, that's not usually going to back that line up as a rule. If it does, they got a bigger problem. But normally that's not going to do that. So
no, it's going to be a random Saturday night when everybody's out of the house and you leave your washer running, then you come home to poop.
Well, you know what? I think we talked about this when we were on the show last time. One of the things that I've run into is people who will buy a house and say, for example, this house it's got 3.5 bathrooms. It's got 5 bedrooms. And they bought the house from a couple who were empty nesters. And they've been like that for about maybe 10, 15 years. They sold the house because they downsized. Mm-hmm. Now, you got this family of, say, 6 that's moving in, occupying all the bedrooms, and now they're running 6 times as much laundry, 6 times as many showers, 6 times, and then they're like, oh, these drains are backing up. The sewer's backing up. I can't tell you how many times I went there, and they're like, well, I'm going to go after the whole owner. They knew this was backing up. I said, no. I said, you can't blame them. And they're like, why? I said, because the amount of water that they ran, they wouldn't have known this. The problem is they haven't used this house to the capacity that you are using it in a very long time. So you have what's called, just normal age where you get buildups in the line. You can have clogs. So it's not necessarily their fault, but it's just something that, they didn't know about, and you can't blame them for it. So you have to understand when you're buying a house that it is not going to be perfect. There's going to have issues. You're buying an older house. Understand that. It's just when you go in, the best you can going in is knowing pretty much to get the devil you know. Yeah. Like you said, it's your to-do list.
Yeah. Yeah. Usage and age relationship to the home, what's there versus what's going to be. I mean, those are important factors.
Yes.
With that,
and they vary.
Yeah, and it can vary. Absolutely, it can vary definitely. And the other thing, again, being proactive, I recommend for every house is getting the radon checked.
Yeah.
And you said it's kind of goes in with the 5-day. A metered radon test done by a licensed technician, that's a 2-day test. It's a 48-hour test.
Yeah.
So, and if mitigation is required to come back on that can run anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000. It's an expensive little adventure to mitigate for radon.
That's something.
Yeah, I mean, there's no telling, just taking the time to use the time that you have wisely and understanding what a task you have. It's not as daunting as you might think, but you have a lot of power in this. And I think homeowners, they can get overwhelmed with the actual purchase. But Absolutely. I think that having the right people, like I said, not many home inspectors that I know make the recommendation like you do of the sewer scope. That right there is 100%. I mean, that's awesome, and that's one of the reasons why I have to say that you're, number one as far as home inspectors that I've met out there. I mean, you're one of the few out there that do that.
Sweet.
Well, I tell them, we'll look out the front window, and I said, you see this little 50 feet of grass that goes to the street? I said, that can be the most expensive piece of real estate here if they have to pull in a backhoe.
Right.
And not only that, but in most towns, the majority of the towns, you own that sewer and water up until the tap of the sewer of the city main.
Yeah, great point.
So if it's in the street or it's on the other side of the street, that can be a very expensive dig.
Right.
And I've had people say, well, that's on the city side. That's on the city side. That's not mine. It's on city property. When this house was built, the city had their mains out there. Those are their utilities. The contractor tapped on to build this house to the city's mains or city's infrastructure. So they own their mains, their water mains and sewers. You own that. Now, there's some towns that will cover it. Chicago's one. I think there's a couple other suburbs that do it too. So you check on it, but for the most part, it's on you. Right. And that's something to keep in mind because, again, once you buy it, it's yours.
You own it. Yep.
Exactly. So it's buyer beware. Do your due diligence. And speaking of diligence and doing a thorough inspection of a house, you got to let us know about the one that you did, the most recent one you did. I mean, as soon as I saw that you posted that picture out there, I was like, man, he's there. I cannot believe he is there. He's doing that. I was like, my guy. And, so what did you find out? And Megan did a lot of research on it.
I want to go.
I'd love to go there.
That was pretty cool. So,
and it looks like a beautiful
Oh, it
home.
is. It's a phenomenal house.
So
it's
cool.
your typical 100-plus-year-old home. As far as the inspection goes, I'm not at liberty to disclose.
No, not at all.
Mm-hmm.
But I will tell you, I didn't hit any cold spots as I was walking through the house.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Nothing moved?
No, but you still kind of like, okay, the houses definitely have history.
Yeah.
I was thinking, with home inspections, typically the homeowner, the occupant, leaves for the inspection.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe the spirits left while I was there because they knew I was coming. I don't know. But
we're lonely. We want to bring people here, so we're going to leave for a little while.
But and then Netflix, I think, had it for like 2 years to shoot the movie,
right.
And I haven't watched the movie yet. I plan on it, but I watched the trailers and different things like that. It's like I was in that room. I was in that room.
Mm-hmm.
I was in that.
That's kind of cool.
It is. Yeah, it is kind of cool.
Yeah, I guess the movie doesn't have anything to do with what had happened in that home. It isn't based around the stories of that home. It's just in that home because it's a haunted.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's kind of
or as I think, like I said, I had gone through. It's spiritually occupied.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah. So
do you have to
there's
disclose?
a lot of stories. Real quick. I was my client who I did the inspection to. I was referred to them by a good friend of mine who actually was on the Frankfurt Police Department back in the 90s.
Okay.
He had a few stories as well. I mean, he was always getting calls on the house. I mean, the house
so
was vacant
cool.
for, I think, we said like 15 years or something.
Yeah.
And there was one call, I guess, where they had gone and about a clown in the closet or something. And they went, and then the clown disappeared. And he even said, that one kind of creeped me out. So, yeah, they used to get residents would call about people walking down the sidewalk, and not your typical Frankfurt residents, but, residents there, apparitions in the windows, things of that nature.
I saw one of the stories said that the previous owner could hear like a blood-curdling scream on October 22nd, which is when the girl Sadie was murdered. He heard like a scream in the house. I'm like, ugh. And he hears them talking to him all the time. I'm like, that's there's a fine line between like friendly and then like, okay.
Well, are they going to bother
terrified.
you? Now, do you have to disclose any of that?
Well, it was all over. They actually, when I do research on a house before I go, I just basically pull up the listing. I just kind of want to see what am I looking at. And it was actually disclosed to me, and it's like, all right, let me do a little bit of research. And I mean, you
can't miss it.
You can't miss it. Yeah, it's right there, all over the place. And then again, I didn't even know Netflix was in Frankfurt for 2 years filming.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't know it either.
As well. Back in, I think, 2018.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
I had no idea. That's really neat.
As well. So, I mean, it wasn't about disclosure. I didn't even really know about it till,
Yeah, if you don't know that, like the second
and my
you
clients
Google
knew
it.
about it. I mean, I guess it wasn't something that was not like kept secret or anything like that.
And they still went and bought it. Huh?
They were unfazed, and they were moving from an existing 100-year-old home, a little bit smaller. So, the age of the home wasn't a deterrent for them.
Yeah.
They kind of knew it's like, you get a 100-year-old home. When I talk to clients about, 100-year-old homes plus, there's
That's
definitely going to be
part.
defects, obviously, but and a lot of times I like to call them characteristics. It's a 100-year-old home. You're going to get sloping floors. You're going to get some, windows that may not open or close or things of that nature. It's.
I think they're.
I'm going to probably slope a little when I'm 100. So, but.
Well,
I think they're built better.
Well, the thing is when you have a house that's that old, everything is pretty much. You know what you're getting yourself into for the most part.
Exactly.
Unless it was touched. See, that's my concern about when people renovate a house and you're buying at the top of your budget. If the renovation was done right, then great. I mean, you're good. You're buying at the top of your budget. Everything's all done. You can spend your time on the aesthetics, the little things to make it home. But if you go in and buy at the top of your budget and this is not done right,
you got nothing to work with if you need to
Right.
fix it.
Yeah, and if it's all done wrong and you have a problem and you got to just totally demolish everything, which I've seen that happen,
right?
And that is devastating to watch. And they have no money because they spent it all. And so, I mean, when you buy an older house, you know what you're getting yourself into for the most part. You can prepare for it, and especially if they've had experience with an older home and lived it, they understand the challenges and the benefits of it. Yeah, I mean, so they're ready for it.
Yeah, they came in educated already, which is good.
That's awesome.
And I'll tell younger clients too that are kind of like bedazzled by the the 100-year-old home with still has some of the original architecture and trim and everything in there. What I'll tell them, the home's been here for 100 years. It's probably going to be here another 100 when all the spec homes have turned into dust. Yeah. We've all seen those. You drive by a cornfield and it's empty, and the next day you drive by and there's 20 homes built.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of the old residents are still there too.
Yeah.
They've never left.
Yeah.
Still living in the house.
They're still there, moving cups and stuff like that.
Hey, you know what? I mean, here's my thought is this. If you're living there, if they wanted to do anything to you, they could have done it.
Oh, totally. That's true.
So, I mean, so that's my thought on it. If they wanted you, they got you. So, I mean, all you could do is just basically, say, I'm sorry.
I'm so intrigued by it. I would love
You guys are great,
Yeah, you can stay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Can't we just coexist, live together? You know?
Yeah, I mean, there's actually a lot of haunted. I kind of started to do a little bit more research, and like the Rialto Theater in Joliet is supposed to be haunted as well. The old mental hospital in Manteno. There's still some of the old buildings that's there that they say patients are walking the floors. And city in southern Illinois, Alton, Illinois, is supposed to be the most haunted town in the state.
Which one?
Alton.
Huh.
That's weird.
They do those Chicago tours too, the haunted tours.
Yeah. So it's out there. I mean, I no doubt over the last 12 years or so, more over 3,000 inspections. I have no doubt that I've probably been in some spiritually habitated.
That's so cool.
Homes and not even known it. Because again, the history. I don't really go for the history or look up the history. I'm just looking up the listing to see how big it is and what am I going to have to. What
you have to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in some older houses and some crawl spaces and seen some possibly weird stuff, but I just chalked it off as the primer and the glue in an enclosed place. So that's all I did.
And I love doing the older homes. You're standing in a room and it's 100 years old or more. And it's like, man, what, and especially the big homes that were the majestic homes that were owned, by the politicians or the bankers or the
Victorian
those
ones.
people there. And man, some of the stuff going on there. And I'll say, sometimes if the walls could talk, and then I think, well, maybe not.
Yeah.
No.
I don't want that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I was at a house in, it was an older house in Hyde Park where it was built before indoor plumbing.
Oh.
And you can see where the plumbing was an afterthought. And the piping would run in-house and then run out the side and run along the driveway.
Oh.
Whereas it didn't run underneath and go out like some of the other houses.
Just put it afterwards.
Yeah, so I mean, it was just a long sewer run, like you said, check the sewer out, because you really don't think it's that far to the street. But the way it was designed and built, because the plumbing was an afterthought, it was almost 200 feet from the house where it came out to the city main, which is pretty amazing. But it's just seeing how these older houses were adapted to the newer technology. It's kind of interesting.
Easy access to a
You
home
still have a lot of
colonoscopy.
old rural farmhouses that barely have indoor plumbing. I've run across some of those as well. I mean, they're functional, and they're the closest neighbor is 20 acres away.
Yeah,
we didn't have it when we got the house in Indiana, and my husband had to relieve himself in the forest into a jewel bag, and then he got poison ivy everywhere. So use your imagination there. Everywhere. So yeah, plumbing's important, guys. Everyone, just get yourself.
That's the moral of the story, If you don't, you'll get poison oak.
Right all over your
no places.
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting time.
Okay, note to self: don't.
But I mean, Steve, to kind of the homeowner hack, great information. The best thing, again, information you can give a home buyer is. Ask questions.
Right.
Don't be deterred to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Because once you've shelled out your 6 figures or you've got your 30-year loan or whatever, all the people that were involved in that they're no longer in the picture, and it's you.
Yeah. I think that's one case where you can say ignorance is not bliss. Because I remember buying our house. I'm like, I don't want to hear anything bad. I just want to kind of just forget about it. I don't want to hear it. It didn't happen. But in reality, you got to know that stuff.
Exactly.
Big investment.
And that's the thing. I mean, just, you have now you have so much more out there to be able to inform yourself, and you could do it in the comfort of your own home. So you have all that information available. Use it. It's available. It's there. A couple phone calls. Some of the stuff you could check online, like Will County. You could check unincorporated Will County. You could check permits online for any work that was done. But others, the building departments of your local municipalities are very helpful. Yeah, they're very helpful. They'll get you all the information you need because, one, they want you as a resident.
Right.
They're welcoming. And two, they realize that this house will always be in the village. The people who live there will move. So they want to make sure the house is an asset to the community, because It's all it takes is one to have a problem, and then it's a domino effect, and you don't want that to happen.
Well, and even moving forward, along with, you said checking municipality for permits, is also checking the municipality, either if you're going to have a contractor come in for repairs or, before they buy the home, does this contractor have any warnings against him with the municipality or the building department?
That's true,
They're
too.
going to have record of that. Are they registered with the city?
Mm-hmm.
Are they licensed with the city? I mean, a lot of municipalities, I'm sure, as you know, if you're not coming in and giving a pint of blood in your firstborn, you're not going to do any work in that town.
Right.
A lot of them are very strict with that, and if they get a complaint, you're off the list.
Yeah, a lot of the towns have lists that you can look at. The lists are not a recommendation, but they are a list of people that have pulled permits and they've had inspections and they haven't had an issue with.
Yeah, they've at least followed the rules.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you have that you can check on.
Yeah.
So it is definitely something to look at. Kevin, it's great to have you on here and being as informative as you are, especially with your experience with the Scary House. You got to follow Kevin on his Facebook because he takes pictures of all of his inspections. He gives a little bit of the address where he's at or location, or at least the town, picture of the house, so you can get a lot of information and see where he's at. Definitely informative. People want to get a hold of you over at KGM Home Inspections?
Yeah, I mean, I'm social media, Facebook, Instagram. I can be reached at 815-370-6644. Call or text. Even if you're a homeowner and you just have a question, feel free to reach out to me.
Yes.
I pride myself in being an education resource for homeowners. And, if I can't answer the question, I can definitely give you direction to the person that can, especially if it's a plumbing question.
I can definitely help
I know
out.
a guy.
Yeah, I know a guy.
And also, everybody that's been on this show and has given their number out, they feel the same way that Kevin is. Give them a call and ask questions because they're on this show primarily to assist and to serve, and that's their business. So definitely make that as an option. Kevin, thank you for coming on and sharing that.
Thank you for the re-invite, Steve. I always enjoy coming
that
on.
cool house. I appreciate that, and I want to thank everybody for listening. If you have any questions about the show or any of our guests, shoot us over a text over at 708-964-5500, or check us out on Facebook at preparetorepair.com. And also head on over to Ferguson Supply for all your kitchen, bath, lighting, and appliance needs. Your dream kitchen or bathroom is as close as Tinley Park. We will be back here next week where Megan and I will discuss the importance of safety and security when allowing service people into your home. This is a topic that me and Megan were talking about extensively over the past few weeks.
That's a big one.
Yeah,
Yep.
because it's a broad topic on it. So that's definitely something we're going to touch
Right
on.
up there with Bordello cheese.
Bordello cheeseburger with
We'll-
fries. And
Touch on that as well.
there you go. I want to thank everyone for sharing their afternoons with us. We'll see you next week, everybody.
Bye,
All right,
guys.
thanks.